So I think it would be good for us to have a chat about this year, right? So everything that happened, I think it was a challenging year, not only for us but for the whole world. So it would be nice to have just a chat among ourselves and discuss what happened this year, how it changed for us, for everyone else that we know, and also what's going to happen moving forward, right? So, are some of the changes this year going to be more permanent moving forward or not? So, it would be nice just to have a chat, look back and forward, I guess.
So, I mean, I it's been a really difficult year, right? We shouldn't lose sight. Anyone who's been affected by the whole coronavirus thing has been terrible. But I think there was one thing that you guys said in the company meeting on Friday, which is just how amazingly everybody at Codurance has adapted to this whole thing so quickly and so well. Um, and I think that some of those things have been so advantageous to us that they'll continue moving forwards, right? Or would hope to keep something moving forward. But I think some of the challenges has been around, every conversation now is very deliberate. So there's no accidental conversation. There's no kind of, walking out to get some lunch or bumping into each other at the office and having those little conversations. Everything is kept to a half an hour or an hour slot, and you're on to the next one. And I think that's probably been the biggest challenge for me, honestly, in my role.
Yeah, how is it for you, Nash, in this topic?
Well, I think it's, as Steve said, we have adopted amazingly well. But I think it's also because we are lucky to be in the sector we are, and also the age we are as an organization. We're only about just over 7 years old. But when we actually started, a lot of our infrastructure and everything that we had set up was set up on the cloud, right? So we were quite well equipped to kind of move everything over to remote. And we had a culture of people working from home. Sometimes we have quite a flexible organization. When people need to commit to their personal life or they can't come to the office, there was always that culture of being able to work from home, even though majority of the cases we preferred being co-located. And I think a lot of the reasons for that was that it's actually quite difficult for a team to be co-located and then just one or two people to be on remote. And no, the team is not equipped to kind of do everything considering the remote person, even though we try to do a lot of things in that way. But kind of moving everybody remote actually made things easier for that to happen as well. But of course, there has been challenges for people, when they are at home, they were not completely set up to have that kind of workspace at home to be able to spend, 9 to 5 or whatever, however long, working from home while there's life is going on around them, right? And that's always been a challenge for people. And and I think there was some people were lucky enough to have their own kind of studies or those kind of things, but others, initially it was very challenging. And so Codurance supporting them as well. We made sure that they were equipped and so on. Of course, we can't get them an office in their house, but we can do as much as we can to make sure that they are as comfortable as they can be. And I think that helped as well.
Yeah, so this is very interesting because, like, we have, I remember speaking to some of our clients, even some of them had to ship machines to people's homes because they use desktops, they were in regulated environments and things like that. And other companies, they had to buy laptops last minute. So it's very interesting to see how different companies had to adapt. And for them, for some companies, was a very big change. For us, as Nash was saying, like one thing we always have, we don't have a single server. I was having this conversation at home the other day. Like we don't have a single server in our office. Everyone has a laptop, right? So it was a bit easier for us But for some of our clients, was a bit more challenging. Another aspect that Mash mentioned, and this is very true, sometimes we look like from just one perspective, like with some people say, wow, it's great to be working from home and stuff. But other people were either sharing a house or they have some personal situations where staying at home is actually not that great. So I believe it was worse when the schools were closed as well, right? So that was very challenging for a lot of parents as well.
Yeah.
So this is improving now. But overall, I think that not only us as a company, but as an industry, we are quite fortunate that we were not as impacted as many other.
Yeah, totally. I remember the last office, remember when we went to, and quite a significant room in the office was dedicated to be the server room. And then we said, oh, we don't need that, you know, can we convert that into a storage room or something? And they said, no, where are your servers going to go then? And that wasn't that long ago.
I tell you what's been really different is we have more than a handful of employees now who I've never met. Right, people have never been to our office. I've never seen them in person, and it was like very unusual for the first 2 or 3, but now I think it does require a little extra effort to. Not just because there's paperwork to sign and there's people to meet, but it's really bringing people into the culture, bringing people into the company. As that was very different. Now it's quite normal, and also the we now have a number of clients we've never met. We have 2 clients, and I'm just thinking off the top of my head, I don't even know where their office is.
Yeah.
Right, and normally I'd have been there on the first day and probably in some meetings before we started the project, and that's been very different.
That saying that, I think our onboarding process, and is thanks to people like Anne-Marie, has really matured to the point where I think it's actually better than it was when we were in a physical location. Because there's one thing is that before, it'll be a case of, someone comes into joins in on their first day, and Magda would show them around the office. This is for the London office, and it's the same for Manchester and Barcelona as well. She'll show them around the office, and there are some people there. If they're not busy, she would kind of say, introduce them to those people, and maybe get them to talk to people when we would have lunch together or something. There'll be a few people gathered around the kind of the kitchen areas. But it was a bit unstructured. I mean, of course, you would meet the team, you would meet, if it's a craftsperson and so on, the people you'd be directly working with, you'd meet. But otherwise, it would be quite difficult, right? Mm-hmm. And now, because everyone is remote, it's actually easier to set up those one-to-ones. And Anne-Marie does that, and she sets these one-to-ones with everybody. I've met every single person that joined, even if it's for half an hour, just have a quick chat, get to understand their background, tell them, and that you kind of establish that connection just in the first week, as it were.
Yeah,
and that's brilliant.
I don't know exactly how many, but like in their first 2 weeks or something like that, they meet a lot of people. I think that they schedule like 10, 15 different one-to-ones, right? So with people across the organization. And one thing that also happened was not only within the office, because like we have 3 offices, right? We have London, Manchester, and Barcelona. And even the collaboration across office became better now.
Oh, that's been lovely as well. The every 2 weeks we have that evening catch up where people kind of come together, give lightning talks, show the things they've learned and things they're interested in. And for the first time ever, that's been cross company, right? So people have been, it was impossible before to get a train down from Manchester to go to the London evening catch up or whatever. That's been really nice. And I think
collaboration is as Mash was saying, like as now that everyone is remote, it broke the how can I say, the divisions within our exactly the barriers within our company. So I feel that this is probably for me one of the highlights of the year. I know that it was a challenging year. There were loads of problems, like challenges, let's say. But like one of the highlights for me was I really feel that now that we are almost 100 people with 3 offices, we are far more united than we were last year, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, certainly. And I know that we are, looking to make changes to try and make that, even more kind of ingrained, if you like. What about working with clients? Because that's been different as well, right? So I think, apart from becoming a Miro power user, of like, what other things have we done to?
I was actually going to say, we kind of talk about the good stuff, but like, especially working with clients, one thing that I really miss is that kind of rapport that you have. So, I mean, Sandro and I and yourself, we do a lot of the discovery phases and the initial kind of inceptions of a particular engagement. And being there, like you start the day with them, and often would actually have breakfast with them, and you'd kind of get started, and there'd be some banter while you're trying to find the meeting rooms or whatever and everything else. And in between, I remember with some of our clients, they had a really lovely culture of having lunch together and then going for kind of a quick walk afterwards. And so kind of forming 1 or 2 people, groups, and just walking around and having those kind of chats. I miss that a lot, that rapport that you create, or even friendship that you create. In fact, I remember going for just before the whole thing hit. I was in Granada, and I was talking to a few of our clients there, and we went out afterwards as well in the evening, and we actually formed a really good friendship. I was only there for 3 days, but you can't do that at the moment, and that I really miss, I think, from a client's perspective, as a challenge, actually.
Yeah, I certainly miss that as well, because like mainly the work that we do, which is, well, we need to collaborate a lot. We need to learn a lot about the organizations. We need to discuss strategies and how we're going to tackle each problem. So being able to have those informal conversations in between workshops and project, and as Mesh said, like sometimes going out for dinner and things like that. So it really makes a difference. So I also miss that. I believe that at the beginning was much harder. I remember that because it was very abrupt, let's say, right? So we were working in a specific way, and in a matter of very few weeks, bang, we cannot travel, you cannot go to the office. So I believe that for me, it was really difficult to learn how to effectively run workshops, because I relied a lot on the body language, right? So you are in a room full of people and you need to run a few workshops, or you have to have a meeting. You rely on those clues, like that you have with body language. And all of a sudden, as soon as you went online, we were learning the tools, right? We could not see everyone. It took me a while to get used to it. Now I'm very comfortable, but it took me a while.
Yeah, and I guess for you, because you used to travel a lot, right? And the other thing that's missing is because I know you used to go away and do some, a discovery or a training course or something like that, and then meet up with the community in the evening, right? And perhaps give a talk at a local craftsmanship community or something like that. So that's kind of that's died off as well.
Yeah, but like there are a few things that there are the positive side. I also feel that we became more efficient. So I think we lost a few things. There are certain things are worse, but there's a few things that are better. First of all, I believe that we are far more efficient, because you need to be very careful with your time, and you cannot just keep dragging things. You're just like, you're going to have 1 hour, this meeting, that's the agenda, bang, bang, bang. So you need to really be extremely organized in order to work. So for me, this is positive, right? We are more effective and efficient in general. So, but in the traveling, I certainly miss the traveling, but at the same time, it also allowed more people to have access to more people, if you know what I mean. So for example, it's easier now that the whole world is learning how to work remotely. It's easier for us to work with people in other countries and for them to work with us, and vice versa. So we are all learning how to collaborate better. And for me, this also allows us to go beyond our geographical locations. And this is happening already. We have quite a few clients in different countries now, right? So
another thing, and maybe it's a minor, but like use of kind of these almost unlimited whiteboards like Miro allowed, in the workshop that we run, you'd go and sometimes there'd be even a really small whiteboard, right? And you'd have some, post-it notes and everything else. But every session, or even within the session, you had to kind of take pictures and then remove that and then create, like, as part of our discovery week, we create a report, and we agree that as we go along with our clients. Creating that was quite a lot of work, in the sense that you had to kind of put all these pieces together and looking at them and evaluating, and especially when you kind of analyzing all this information that you've gathered and the discussions you've had, kind of bring them all together. It was actually quite difficult.
Yeah, the slightly out of focus pictures of whiteboards on your phone,
exactly.
taken from a funny angle, and
Exactly. And then kind of creating higher fidelity diagrams from there and so on would be, and because they were not, you'd create something and then, you'd have to wipe that off or something. And like when you're continuing on that topic, you'd have to recreate it, but not all the information be there and so on, to just get people to kind of re-engage with that thing that you were discussing. Now having that Miro board, you stop where you stop, you come back, and everything is there. And like everything, you can look at it in a very holistic way. So you can start creating a lot of representing a lot of knowledge over the workshops that you have in this one single board. And then looking at that from a holistic point of view actually adds to the kind of richness of the analysis that we do now as well. So I think that maybe it's a small thing, but maybe it's quite a big thing, because the insights are more, the information is better represented throughout the workshop.
I would agree. I believe at the beginning was a bit of a panic, because there was not a lot of good tools available, and we had to learn them quite quickly. And then we went through that period that we were using loads of different tools. We had so it took us a while to actually agree, or reduce the small set of tools that we use, and they evolved massively. They evolved really, really fast. So I think that the online tools that we have today are really allowing us to work. As Mesh said, I would argue that some of the online workshops that we have now, given the documentation, the way that it's structured, maybe sometimes have better outcomes. Forget about the conversations that we could not replace that yet, right? The informal conversations during the breaks and stuff. But the workshops themselves, some of them, I would argue, that are more effective.
I think my workshops have changed quite a lot. I think that my workshops are now a lot more interactive, simply because effectively everybody's stood at the whiteboard, right? So it's no longer calling people up and handing them a post-it note and, where do you think this should go? Everybody's at the whiteboard all the time. And I think if you bear that in mind, you can adapt and have some much more interesting workshops.
I think that not only for, of course, the workshops were the ones that were more affected, but we have long living projects, right? So for example, one of our biggest clients, it was a remote client before COVID, right? But I believe that the relationship was good, but how can I say, the ways of working with them improved this year, because now we were all remote, as Mashooq was saying before. Before they were co-located, because they are in US, and we were in the UK and in other places. So now that we are all remote, we all became far more organized. So I think that was very, very positive as well.
So one thing that I've been thinking about, it's been on my mind quite a lot actually, and more because of the position we are in, is the workspace, is it as relevant as it was? So when we go back to the office, for example, one of the things I was thinking is, you know, we will go back to the office, but probably not all the time, right? And this remote working, the way I see it is that, you know, you would go back and sync, you know, every week, once or twice a week or something like this. And then some people will still be remote. And remote would become the norm and not the exception. So people who are remote would become the norm, right? The way we've currently structured offices like open spaces, yeah. So there is a kind of a bank of desks, and usually there's not even a big divider between them. We have some level of division, but not people sitting side by side and so on. And let's say there is one team and there's 2 or 3 people sat there, but others are remote, and they're all on call. How do you then make sure that, you know, people are not interrupting each other, right? How do you make sure that everything is remote first, right? So, you know, I think those kind of things where certain privacy will be needed for different people to kind of have meetings without going to meeting rooms while there are remote people around, because this will become extremely important, and it will almost become the norm. It's not like once in a while you book a meeting room and you rest of the team goes in and there's remote people. No, it'll be a constant conversations and workshops, and people need to be communicating from their desks if they are in the office. And I think this will have an impact on how we evolve our working spaces.
I agree. Yeah, I believe that for us it's much easier, being the kind of company we are. I believe that as we always say internally, we will always remain more flexible than our own clients, right? So,
Yeah.
But I believe that even with our clients and companies in general, not only our clients but companies in general, they will need to remain a little bit more flexible with the working hours, because otherwise they will not be attractive. Right, so there is a lot of advantages. Oh, this is another thing that was important, because we had even some internal data about that. The happiness in our company went up, retention went up. So normally, of course, that there's always the people that have a few issues at home, or they don't have a good working place. But overall, people were saving money in commute, saving time. They were eating better. Right, so they could have more time to do other things as well. So this is very positive, and I don't think, and I think that most people would not want to be forced to be in an office 5 days a week. So I believe that most companies will remain flexible moving forward.
I think that most employees will now see it as unnecessary. And you know, if people are forced to come back to an office 5 days a week, what they view as unnecessarily, I think that will cause some problems.
Yeah.
Because things are very much more specific now, right? So when you have a meeting, you talk about that thing. There's not these kind of longer conversations don't happen. So I think that perhaps we need to, or perhaps things have become a little bit more targeted.
I think that for me was an effect of the world is becoming more global, right? So, and we are now reaching out to people that are outside our geographical location. So we had to become more specific with our offerings as well. So, for example, one thing that was big for us this year, we had to better define how we communicate our service, for example, right? So we had to better define all those service lines, and we put a lot of effort as we are growing, because we managed to grow this year, right? So, and we had to structure ourselves better, and now that we're going outside our geographical locations, we had to be far more precise in how we communicate what we do to our clients and things like that. And for me, this was a very positive change, and this will allow us to work with very interesting companies outside where we have offices, right? So, and this is valid for everyone, right? So the world is becoming far more global. So now it's easier for companies in different places to work together.
It's interesting for. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, go on, Steve.
No, I was going to say around recruitment as well, right? It's no longer the case that you need to live in London, Manchester, or Barcelona to work for Codurance, right? There is a conversation we can have, about remote work, and that's great. That's great.
Yeah, we already have a few people actually join who are with the view to be working most of the time in a remote.
There's still a lot of value in meeting in person, both our clients and the teams. But what I was saying to them is like, make something special, right? Whenever we are more free to move around. So when they go to the office, don't go to the office just to arrive there, sit down, do your work and go home. No, make sure that when you go there, bring everyone in, the whole team goes together. So agree when they are working from home, when they're working from the office, and when they go to the office, have breakfast together or lunch or dinner or drinks, whatever suits the team best, but make it an event.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of use that time to connect, at a different level. The other thing that came to me just now was the thing around defining our services or being able to communicate our services better, right? And I think this has been partly because of course, the events and so on. But as a company, we have grown up as well, and much better sales and marketing, and the way they are helping us understand people's problems and describe our services from the point of view of the problems that need to be solved, right? And I think this is actually, as you were saying as well, it's one of the best things that's happened in the past year in terms of Codurance is that we are now able to articulate the problems that we are solving in a much better way. Before, we were a bunch of really good engineers and who could, we knew that, give us a software development problem, whether that is kind of nitty-gritty of test-driven development or design or organization level and so on, and we will have the right people who know what to do, and they will come and fix it. But it's very generic, right? And of course, for our clients, they would look at our reputation and say, you know what, I have a number of problems, and these people are good, and we'll hire them to and then we'll discuss how they solve our problem. But now that we're able to define our services from the perspective of people's problems or our clients' problems and how we solve them, I think it makes it much easier for them to now come to us in a much more focused way, knowing that we'll be able to solve that problem. And it allows us to take our message much further, because now it's not just about in the areas that we already have a reputation, but we are solving these problems, and across the world, the problems to do with software development are actually quite common, and those kind of things, and that match is easier, I think. And this allows us.
So it allows us to diversify, right, in terms of skill sets. So as well. So this is what we were saying in our online Christmas party as well. So if you look at where we were last year, and the year before and now, we have many other skill sets within the company, right? So with user experience and business analysts and agile delivery managers, so many different skill sets that are allowing us to offer a more complete solution, while still remaining like keeping the engineering at our core, right? So all the craftsmanship thing that people know us, but we were able to diversify and increase the things.
And the other side effect, and a great side effect to that, is that we are really defining our ways of working. There's a much clearer definition of those, right? Before, our ways of working were based on really good practices, principles, and skills, but then the actual work was very much tailored by the people that were there, right? And now we are better defining those ways of working, which leverages those skill sets. But on the other hand, it also allows us to not only now train our people in the skills, which we've always done, but also in the solutions that we provide. So it allows the teams to in a much quicker way decide, okay, this is how we are going to move forward, and already have a practiced way of doing that, right? Mm-hmm. At a solution level, not just at the practices level, which we had before.
It's not been a bad year for us, and it's I think it's taught us a lot. I think we've come out of this a lot stronger than we started the year. And there's been it's been interesting. The first 3 weeks were horrendous, the chaos. But I think we adapted very well, and I think we've learned a lot. I think we're much better off now than we were.
Yeah, I'd echo that. We've come out way stronger out of this, which initially was a crisis and turned into an opportunity. And now I'm looking forward to next year, and hopefully in another few months, we will have some semblance of a norm. And I can't wait to get into the next year, actually.
Yeah. So same here. I think that not only us, but I think that the software industry as a whole is stronger. I think that all the adversities that we had this year made a lot of companies to structure themselves better. They use technology better. Of course, and unfortunately, there were other industries that suffered a lot, but companies that really rely on technology and they were able to adapt fast, they end up benefiting. For me, this is probably one of the key learnings. I think that I think Mashooq, we were even having a chat about that the other day, like what you were saying, that there were a lot of signs, not signs of COVID, but the need to change your business fast, the need to adapt fast. Yeah. So the signs we've been having for years, it's accelerating that need for change.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this year just really turned the knob to 10, right? So you need to change or you die. And I believe that although unfortunately quite a lot of companies suffered, but there were a lot of companies that thrived, and those ones that thrived were the ones that were able to change their systems, changing their software, adapt their softwares very, very quickly. So that's for me is also a lesson moving forward.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. We should do this more often. It's actually a lot of fun to have those chats.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.